Now in problem 17, we have one endpoint. We're given one endpoint of AB has the coordinates negative 3, 5. The coordinate of the midpoint is 2, negative 6. I need to find the distance from A to B. Well, you can't find the distance from A to B until you find point B. So let's estimate this. I'm not going to be real exact here. I'm going to draw my grid. I know one endpoint A is at negative 3 and 5. So here's negative 3 and 5. We know B is at 2 and negative 6. Or should I say your midpoint is at 2, negative 6. I need to find the coordinate of B. And I didn't draw that to scale because M should be in the middle. Now, let's review here. Midpoint formula is you add up the x's and divide by 2. You add up the y's and you divide by 2. Well, we know the midpoint is at 2, negative 6. I know the answer. I know one of my coordinates is negative 3, 5. So I know one of my x's is negative 3. So I'll say negative 3 plus x. That'll be the B coordinate divided by 2. And we'll say 5 plus y divided by 2. Well, let's find the coordinates of B. So I'm going to say 2 equals negative 3 plus x all over 2. Let's multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the fractions. 4 equals negative 3 plus x. So I we add 3 to both sides. 4 plus 3 is 7. So I know the x coordinate of B is 7. Now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to approach y in pretty much the same method. I'm going to say negative 6 equals 5 plus y all over 2. Multiply both sides by 2. You get negative 12 equals 5 plus y because the 2's reduce. Didn't say that before, but that's what happens. Finally, let's subtract 5 from both sides. We get negative 17. I put a 2 in there, didn't I? That's supposed to be a y. Sorry about that. So y is negative 17. Now you've got point B and you've got point A, so now we can use our distance formula. So distance equals, we're going to go x sub 1 minus x sub 2, or x sub 2 minus x sub 1. I think that's how the formula is, so I'll write it that way. Subtract your 2 x's, square them. Subtract your 2 y's, and square them. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to let b be my second x. So I'm going to say 7 minus, and we said negative 3. We're going to square that. We'll do the same thing for the y's. We're going to say y is negative 17 minus, what did we say, 5. And we're going to square that. Well, let's do a little simplifying. When you subtract a negative, you add. So 7 plus 3 is 10. Negative 17 minus 5 is negative 22. We're going to square that. Well, 10 squared is 100. 22 squared is 484. So we get the square root of 584. Now let's look at the directions. They didn't tell us how to do this problem, so I'm going to see if I can simplify this. 584. I'm thinking 4 goes into 584. Let's use a calculator and find that. Whoops, I don't want that one. So if I take 484 and I divide that by 4, I get 121. Oh, that is so perfect. In fact, I did this a hard way. Look what happens. Let's take the square root of 484. Should have noticed that. It's 22. So the answer is 22 from A to B. They didn't give you any units in the problem, so I went putting units in your answer. Now, there's an easier way to find the midpoint. At least I think there's an easier way to find the midpoint. Finding it geometrically, but that's in the seminar. This works just as well. It's an algebraic way of looking at it. But if you don't like this way, you could find the midpoint geometrically. Since you know the midpoint, you could find the other endpoint, I should say.